Good afternoon. I'm Leon Davis. It is 2 p.m. Central Time, and it's May the 16th. And this is Altitude Adjustment, the podcast about people, politics, and professions. And we are I didn't check, but we are locked down. And I do hope that everyone is okay and safe. And I do appreciate you joining me for this podcast. So one of the businesses that seem to be pushed as opening early is barbershops and hair salons. And I thought, let's talk a little bit about that. So that's coming up right now.
Welcome to Altitude Adjustment.
Alrighty, thank you very much again for joining me. And joining me this afternoon is Keisha Betts. Hi, Keisha.
Hello.
So let me set the mood. Okay, so hair and dress has been a issue that has come up, and it seems people have made that a central or an important business that needs to open. And so I thought it would be a good idea if we spend a little bit of time talking about hair today, and maybe we'll talk about dress on another podcast. Now, in 1786, the Tignon Law was passed in Louisiana. There have been laws, governing people's hair and clothing. The Tignon was a headdress, more of like a scarf or a wrap, and it was the result. The Tignon Law was a result of the sumptuary laws passed in 1786 under the administration of Governor Esteban Rodriguez Miro. Called the Tignon Laws, they prescribed and enforced appropriate public dress for females, gens de couleur, or people of color, in the colonial society. Historian Virginia M. Gould notes that Miro hoped that the law would control women who had become too light-skinned or who dressed too elegantly, or who in reality competed too freely with white women for status and thus threatened the social order. And recently, there have been a couple of states that have passed laws banning discrimination based on someone's hair. California and New York were the first states to enact laws last summer, forbidding race-based hair discrimination. New Jersey, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Kentucky, as well as Cincinnati, Ohio, and Montgomery County, Maryland, have followed with proposed legislation. Now, many black women say they felt pressure for decades to use excessive heat, chemical relaxers, and weaves to conform to European standards of straight hair. This often means spending hundreds of dollars a month and countless hours at hair salons, and that's according to Nielsen. Black consumers spent $473 million on hair care in 2017. Much of the pressure that black women say has come from employers and school officials who don't view locks or braids as the neat professional hairstyle they require, or might see the looks as a political or aggressive statement, or signal that the wearer is not interested in fitting in. So let's start there. Black hair has been misunderstood a lot in our society. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree.
You want to stop there? You gonna stop there?
No.
So I'm gonna spend this 20 minutes developing this this line of questioning, and you're going to go, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, no. All right,
No, I'm elaborating.
very,
I would
very good.
agree
Uh,
that I would agree that black hair is misunderstood. I feel like it's different. So a lot of people feel what's different to them. Some people are inquisitive about it and want to know more about it, but then some people are, this is different, I don't like it. Since they don't understand it, a lot of people, I don't want to say demonize, but they try to say that it's bad because it's different.
so let me ask you a question. Have you? So I've watched a lot of videos on um, YouTube. I've never had anyone ask to touch my hair. Have you had anyone ask to touch your hair?
All the time.
Really?
Yes. Um, Before I had straight hair, so when I was younger, I would get relaxers or I would get a hot comb so my hair was straight. It was very silky. And I would have a lot of women come up to me and say, I really like your hair. It looks really soft. Can I touch it? No. You cannot touch it because they can't believe how that my hair couldn't be straight or silky. So they want to touch it and see what it feels like, see how it's different than theirs.
Hmm.
And then recently I've become natural. So I've stopped using perms and relaxers and heat on my hair. So my hair is typically very curly, um, like the kinky curls. And a lot of women want to touch it and see what curls feel like, or if it's hard, how do I get it to stay the way that it is? Or if I have my hair like how I have it now in a bun, what do you do to keep your hair laying straight or laying flat against your head? What do you put? Do you use gel? Can I touch that? So yes, I have people that try to touch my hair a lot.
Wow, that's interesting. I've never really had that experience. I guess when you're 6'4", um, people don't have a tendency to think you're so warm and friendly, regardless of how wonderful my smile is.
It's beautiful.
Thank you very much. And so you've had that experience, and I didn't even know that about you. And how did so some of this was in the workplace?
Yes.
How did how do you think that impacted you in the workplace? I mean, what was, did it make you uncomfortable, or did it make you um, how did it impact the environment and how you felt about it?
It impacted me in a way I felt that it was demeaning. I felt like people asking to touch my hair is something that was like, you're so different and out there than I am. So feel the need to want to touch you and see how different you are. But it's inappropriate. One, we're at work, so you can't pet me like I'm your chihuahua. That's not okay.
Mhm.
And it just made me feel it just made me feel very different that
Okay.
someone would say, "Oh, I want to touch your hair," because I don't think you would go to your parents or to someone that looks like you and say, "Can I touch your hair?"
And you didn't feel like it was a bonding experience. It was more that you were an anomaly that they had to experiment on and to gain knowledge about.
Yes, I didn't feel like that was a bonding experience for us to become friends now that you've touched me. Because I wouldn't walk up to someone that has different skin than me and say, your skin is so different. Can I touch it? Like, you just don't do that.
Right,
So
right.
I feel like it was almost a way to ostracize me, that I'm so different than you that I need to be evaluated.
Okay, okay. So with a lot of the laws being passed to end the discrimination, so first, um, the fact that there were laws that were passed to govern black hair. I don't know if there were laws that were passed to govern non-black people's hair. Can you think of any?
Not that I've researched or heard anything about.
Okay.
Um, I know I've done a little bit of research on the Tignon Law that you were explaining in the beginning of the video.
Hmm.
And um, I learned some things that I didn't know before that, with this law being passed, it was a way to strip us of our culture because at the time, women were putting jewels and feathers and like a lot of really nice things to our hair because we valued our hair and the way that it looked. And people were threatened by that. They thought that we were trying to be on a more social level. So that they did this to strip our culture and to signify you are part of this lower class. You are part of the slave class. So this is where you need to stay, and we're going to identify you by you having to wear these wraps. So that was very interesting. I did learn that.
Yeah, I did. That was um, so. Preparing for the show was interesting for me because I like doing it because there are things that I've learned. You know, a lot of history, and I've heard this said before that a lot of Black history was lost because none of this was to me was taught, and it's something I've had to find out as an adult that these things went on. And so, with that being said, to me it brings into mind a couple of things because I am a small business owner, or because I have been in small business and I continue to want to be a business owner. So let me step back and talk about some of the different hairstyles. So there's the afro, there's braids, there's twists, there's weave. What are some of the other ones that you can think of?
Natural hair,
Wigs.
wigs,
Yeah.
weaves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So different people use different, and I'm not, and so far we've talked about women, but Black men have different hairstyles too, and um, uh, they like to promote those. And so one of the things that I had mentioned earlier was when we talked is that in the article that I read, and I just read a part of it, is that businesses and schools have had different rules for Black hair in an attempt to control their environment. And so we talked about, there's, I don't, so purple hair. So, in the white culture, for a while they did purple hair and they did spiked hair. And it used to be that company dress codes had, men's hair couldn't be below a certain length. And it had to be neatly trimmed and stuff like that. And you remember that? And what I have noticed is because of the pushback, not just from African Americans and other cultures, it's just there's been a general pushback against dress codes, hair specific. Mostly dress codes are based on hair and clothing. So as a business owner, when businesses put in place these dress codes and they specifically targeted towards Black Americans, that was going to be a problem because I don't think that they understood Black hair. They didn't understand the culture around Black people and how they dress and how they use hair in the social settings that make up the Black community. So in the 60s, the Afro was pretty popular. That was during the
Black Pride,
Black Panthers. And so the Afro kind of took on the feel of rebellion. Right. But people, as you just mentioned, Black Pride, they could wear an Afro as a form of pride and not necessarily a rebellion. And so the difficulty then becomes, how does a business owner know when something is not a part of their culture, it's not a normal part of the life that they live in, so they can identify when, if you're Muslim, you immediately know when someone is maybe not immediately, but you're pretty acknowledged or pretty tuned into when someone is using their dress or their hair as a rebellious statement versus when it's just a part of their personality and they're doing it because this is who they are, because your hair for you is a part of who you are. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I would. I wouldn't say that it defines me, which is part of, I mean, you could do a whole nother podcast on that, on Black women's hair defining them, but it is, I do identify with my hair. I feel that it helps me identify with my culture, where I've come from. This is me. This is how my hair comes out of my head. So this is the way I'm going to wear it. So I do think that.
Yeah. So as a business owner, I have someone that comes into my shop or place of business, and they fill out an application, and they have a hairstyle that. So I am a conservative, or I want to run a business where people they keep their hair cut, trimmed, low, tight, kind of conservative. How do I, if I don't know, so if a Black person comes in, a young Black man comes in, and his hair is, he's got the dreads, the really flat, wide dreads, and for my company, I want cropped hair, collared shirts, tie. How do I then ensure that the because all of that look says something about my company. It says something about what I believe that my company should, the image it should put forward. Fair?
Mm-hmm.
And so if a guy comes in with the dreads, and I determine that dreads does not meet the image that I want to put forward into my company, should I then be allowed to not hire that individual?
Absolutely not. No. You can have locks and still dress conservatively. You can ask the person to pull them back into a bun or a low ponytail, and make sure that they are neat. But you can't say, I'm not going to hire you because you have locks. He could very well be a very conservative person. He very well could represent your company well. But because he chooses to wear his hair in a style that you may not understand, does not mean that you shouldn't hire him. You definitely can ask him to make sure that they are neat at all times or pulled back, like I said, in a ponytail, but you can't say, I'm not going to hire you because I don't think you're conservative enough for my company, because he very well could be.
Okay. So, so I determined that I'm going to let him have his, because first off, if I ask him to put it back in a ponytail, I have set myself up for a potential lawsuit, because now he's going to say, if I treat him differently, let's say, I would prefer to have people with short cropped hair interact with customers, and not have dreadlocks in the front office or in contact with the customer, because what the customer sees is the image that I want to put forth for my company. There are people who will look inside the shop. If they see somebody with dreadlocks, they may not shop at that company. They look and they see, well, this company is very permissive because it's an image thing.
Do you want someone shopping in your store that discriminates against someone with locks anyway?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you want someone to shop in your store that's going to discriminate against your employees?
And that's a tough decision. I don't think it's discrimination if I'm trying to present an image. I'm trying to present an image.
Can fit into your image. If his hair is neat, if it's pulled back, if he's making sure that the roots aren't this long and that they're kept up, then he can fit into your image.
Okay. All right. So is there?
It would be the same as if you had a Caucasian woman with long hair and you say, I want your hair to be neat. She may pull it back into a ponytail or pull it back in a bun, and it is considered neat. I feel that locks would be the same. I can pull them in a ponytail or in a bun, and now my hair is neat. It's not all over the place or not all over my head. It's not standing up, and now they are neat and they are presentable.
But so I can't ask that the hair be no more than shoulder length.
You would have to ask that of everybody.
I agree. I'm saying if I put into place a dress code that says your hair cannot be longer than your shoulder length, is that acceptable?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I agree.
As an employee, I can make that decision to say, I'm not going to cut my hair, but you can't say, hey, everyone else can have whatever length hair they want, but your dreads have to be shoulder length. You can't do that.
Okay. So let's say, because I agree, I think it's tough. I think it's a difficult thing in setting a dress policy that's going to be fair. I think it's extremely difficult, because there is the need for self-expression, but there is also the need for the business to represent itself as management would like to see it represented. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say we have a shoulder length policy. Does that have to apply the same for men and for women?
Yes.
So if I say shoulder length, I have to ask the women that their hair can be no longer than shoulder length, and the men's hair can be no longer than shoulder length.
Yes, because if you know, that could be sexist to say women's hair can be down their back, but men's hair can only be shoulder length. You can't. It has to be a blanket. Everyone's hair has to be shoulder length.
That's going to be tough, don't you think?
Yes, but if you're implementing a dress code where people enforcing people's hair, you have to be fair across the board.
And that's what's fair to you. So there's no difference between men and women.
As far as dress code,
Well,
And hair.
can I can I can I ask women to wear a dress to work?
No,
No, I can't do that.
no,
Why?
because not all women have to wear a dress. They don't have
Well, I
to
mean,
conform to 1950s.
so at my company, I'd like to see women wear dresses. Is there
That's
you
creepy.
know what I'm saying? I like to
No,
see women's hair.
no,
No,
no. You don't get
okay.
to enforce the dress code based off what you like to see.
Well, I'm the company owner. What should I be able to do as the company owner? What kind of controls do I have in my company?
The only control you have on how other people dress is to say if they are business professional, business casual. You do have the right to say for women, I don't want to see cleavage. Your dress should be to your knees, or skirts should be to your knees so that it's not distracting to people around you. But you can't force women to wear heels and dresses to work every day.
Yeah,
And
but you just told me I can't force her to wear a dress. So all I can say is, if you wear a dress, it has to be this way.
yes, you can say that.
If you have hair, it can be. I can set a kind of a range. Can I? Because I'm trying to understand as somebody who started a company, um, who started this company. You know, I start my company. I wear a shirt and tie to work every day because by image, I believe that a shirt and tie shows a certain kind of dedication to an idea. You know, if I can get up and put on a shirt and tie every day, um, you know, a pair of shorts is casual. A shirt and tie is not,
Right.
right? So in my business, I don't want to show casual. So how do I define my business if I can't control how my people look?
You can control to a certain extent. You can say this is a professional work environment. You must look professional at all times, suit and tie. You can enforce that. You can say your hair has to be neat, but you can't enforce the length of people's hair.
So neat. So a guy comes in, he's got dreads, and it's down to his back, and we know that happens. That's not unusual. And so for him, neat is I put a scrunchie on it. It stays all the way down my back, and that's neat. And I
Right. So
have
what's
to,
wrong with that?
huh?
What's wrong with that?
I'm a business owner. I don't want hair down his back.
Do your
I
other
want I want I want his hair to be low cut. I want his hair to I want my hair short. I like short hair. How do I? So if he comes in and he's got dread, here's another thing. So he comes in and into the interview, his hair is short. I go, yeah, this guy's got it. You know, he comes in, he's got on his shirt and tie, and he's he comes in, says all the right things, does all the right things. I hire him. 2 years down the road, he's got hair down his back. You know, what do I have? What can I do? Because if I go to him and I say, you know, your hair is getting too long, he's probably going to say, that's none of your business. That's
Yeah.
my expression. That's my expression of my life. I go to a woman and say, you know, I don't like the color of your hair. You dyed your hair a color that I didn't like. Because I think that when you dyed your hair the color that it does not represent our company well. So now you're saying to me, tough. It's your company. You said tough. You just have to live with this. Your life's work is based on every employee's desire to do whatever they want to do in your work environment.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay, what are you saying?
I'm saying that you can't necessarily police. You can say, I want things professional. And if you hire him and he has a low cut and it starts getting long in your dress code policy, you probably did have something in regards to hair. And if you say in our policy, your hair can't be past your shoulders, you can't tell him to cut his hair off, but you do have to settle on him putting it in a ponytail or putting it in a bun. You can't tell him, okay, well, I hired you and you had a low cut hair and now you have locks. Now you have to cut them off. That is part of his culture. That's part of his self-expression. You can't take that from him, but you can say you are representing my company and I want your hair neat and I want it pulled back.
Okay. So I'm going to make one more point, then I'm going to give you a chance to have the last word. And then we're going to move on to next week. Okay. Oh man, I forgot the point. Oh, all right. Oh, that's what it is. So what I'm going to say is, I think it's difficult to parse out the how to allow self-expression with creating an environment that you as a company owner will feel proud of. Because it is a team effort, you want to put people on your team that are going to support you in a way that you as the business owner thinks is going to be best for your company. And so I think the difficulty is that we are having a moment at time where people's desire for self-expression is colliding with the idea of image selling products and goods and services. You want to add a last word?
No. You beat me up on this one.
I'm sorry, what?
You beat me up on this one.
All right, so we'll put it down 1 Leon, 0 Keisha. Well, I appreciate you being a good target. No, I don't. I just don't think. So I don't think there's an easy answer. I think you're right. So I joke when I say 1-0 because I don't think it's it's the question that becomes what is the best way? How do we allow people self-expression and still work together to accomplish something? I mean, I realize that, hair is a personal issue, clothing is a personal issue, but your hair and your clothing impacts more than you. It impacts everybody around you, everybody in your company. And so, because we all know of people who, when you tell them business casual, have come to work in flip-flops. So I'm going to close the session. I want to thank you very much for joining me. We'll look to be back with you next week. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
That concludes this episode, and thank you for listening. This podcast is designed for live listener interaction. Visit the website, thelionsdenstl.wixsite.com/home for details about how to join the conversation. The video version of Altitude Adjustment is available on YouTube. Search for Lions Den STL. And the audio podcast is available on Stitcher.com, Anchor.fm, the iTunes Store, and the Google Play Music Store, to name a few. Look for Altitude Adjustment where you get your podcast, and consider making a contribution by visiting anchor.fm/altitude-adjustment2. Remember, the internet is powered by your likes, shares, and comments. So please like, share, and comment on this and other episodes, because it matters. As always, be cool, be calm, and above all, be careful. Look out for the other guy, because they may not be looking out for you.